Hey, I'm Steveferreira, CEO of Beyond Disabilities, and have absolutely no excuses. You're watching John the Ninja.
Ladies and gentlemen, how you doing? It's John the Ninja live in the dojo, aka the Dojang, aka the John the Ninja Studios. The gentleman I have here today is a motivational speaker, a CEO, company founder, social media influencer, athlete, and he's somebody with a disability. But with everything I just said, you have to remember this most important fact. He has $1 million smile. You really should be modeling. Born in Taiwan, he's adopted and also a twin. But this individual was diagnosed with cerebral palsy. And though it was a tough upbringing, he's become a beacon of light for everyone. His ever so important message is just be yourself. He founded the company, which is Beyond Disabilities, 12 years ago, a nonprofit which makes it its mission to teach people about inclusion. He's spoken to schools, companies, he's traveled all over the world to send this message out that everyone deserves to be included and everybody is the same. So he helps spread the positive and encouraging message with aim to educate the public. He's been featured on TIK TOKs, Asian Voices, and he's even competed in the U.S. Paralympic sports. He's been sponsored and he's won gold in the Czech Republic. And let me tell you, your boy's killing it on social media where he does all his videos on not just writing around in his wheelchair, telling people about real life issues that may arise from being in a wheelchair, but he also does a lot of weightlifting, weight training. I'm telling you, it's something to see this guy flip a tire, and I'm not talking about the small ones. I have a hard enough time changing my own tires. So here to talk about Beyond Disabilities and his story, ladies and gentlemen, I give you Steve Ferreira. How you doing, brother?
Good, how you been?
I've been on. I'll complain later. Let me take that back. I will complain later. Not as good as you've been, man. I know you just got back from, I want to say, Vietnam. Tell me about the trip. How was that? Because we were chopping it up prior to, and you were telling me you go on vacation. I was like, oh, he's probably going like down the road, probably going somewhere in the U.S. Nah, he's going overseas. I need to hear about.
I haven't had a real break for myself in a few years. I formed a group of friends and we went to Vietnam and we traveled to Da Nang for 5 days. We did sightseeing, then went to Ho Chi Minh City, has amazing food, but it's different navigating the streets in a motorized manual wheelchair. The sidewalks are filled with motorbikes. Sometimes the sidewalks are uneven curves. It was sometimes a struggle, but that doesn't stop me from exploring and living my life.
I'm happy you touched that on, man, because so many people, especially the disabled community on social media, are big advocates for making it accessible for everybody. And I was going to hit that up. You hit it for me. But I want to know, what was your favorite moment of that trip? We just love sightseeing. We love going and exploring. But there's always that one place, for some reason, it touches the soul a little bit more. Where was that for you in Vietnam?
My favorite part was trying all the different food. You don't have to sit there for half an hour for your meal. It's at your table within 2 minutes. It's fresh and it's cheap and it's made with real ingredients. Sometimes people forget the meaning of fresh and healthy. It's just slap together and say, here, eat this. Every morning we tried a different fast food restaurant and compared it to the United States. Man, it just hit differently. It was so light that you could buy another one and not feel full.
That's crazy. I might have been stacking up, bro. I ain't gonna hold you. But I heard that a lot, the fast food, especially in different places, might taste different, etc. But I never would have thought like how accessible food is there, and how like much I always assumed that food is better because we're really processed here. But man, I'm happy you had a good time in Vietnam. Let's go to the beginning, man. I really want to know what it was like for you growing up, because we all heard your story about how you were adopted, you and your sister Emily, and we don't really get to see too much of the struggling portion, like you said, when you were still trying to come into your own and try and go. So walk me through, like, how is your mom and dad? What were they like growing up? How supportive they were? I know Emily's in San Francisco. How is she doing? Walk me through that growing up period up to middle school, high school.
Emily and I were adopted together. When I was 12, my mom and dad got a divorce. The key thing for me was surround myself with people that value my friendship and see past my disability. Some of those friends from middle school are still my friends to this day. Nothing is hard unless you make it hard.
When doing the therapies, you did a lot of different therapies to try and
Yes.
gain control of your motor functions, your speaking, etc. And a lot of people don't know there's more than one. There's physical, there's hydro, there's hippo. It can be a little daunting. I was curious, what are some of the lessons? It doesn't necessarily even have to be a lesson about like how to work your motor systems, but I was curious, what are some lessons from your therapy sessions that kind of helped you along the way of being able to go about life?
Going to therapy first when I was younger, the hippotherapy helped balance out my trunk muscles because I had no control of my neck. One of my therapists in middle school, they found out what I was really interested in, and it was weight training. She got a broom dowel bar, put ankle weights on it, and that's how I began my fitness journey. I've been working out ever since. But the thing people don't realize these days is that your back and core need to be the strongest to stabilize every muscle throughout the body. I get some people want to be strong, look buff, but what would benefit you in the long run?
People, if you haven't seen his social media, yeah, Steve, no excuses at all, because he be flipping tires. He's lifting, I don't even know what you call them, chin ups, pin ups, I forgot. That's how long it's been since I've worked out. But on a serious note, you have been on social media. That's how I initially found you, working out, doing stuff that even, I ain't gonna hold you, I never flipped a tire, bro. You know, I had a hard enough time changing a tire, let alone flipping one. Just off the top of my mind, you know, you've stated that working out is good not just for the physical but for the mental, and that's helped you immensely. But when I do my music, something about playing, it kind of like unlocks another function in my mind. I haven't been diagnosed yet, but I have trouble focusing on things. I have trouble sticking to one thing. But when I pick up a guitar or I pick up some drumsticks and pretend to play, all of a sudden it's like everything's on the same page. I'm thinking clearly, but I'm also doing something with my hands. And when I'm concentrating, I'm doing things with my hands. I'm like, yo, I wouldn't have been able to do that without this vessel. So I was curious, when you work out, do you feel that oneness with the mind and body, where there's not really that disconnect? They're both on the same page. Is it a little easier when you work out, or is it still somewhat of a struggle to try and force the body to do what the mind says?
It's easy to work out. The only thing that's hard for me to do is walk independently by myself because that drains so much energy out of my body. I can walk holding on to someone's arm, but even if I use a wheelchair, my wheelchair doesn't define who I am. It's just how I get around.
And you're an excellent driver, man. I saw the video where you're driving. That was such a like small corridor. Something that everybody I don't think understands, and it's something you can't unless you go through it. It's talked about. Everyone has an idea of it, but they don't understand, and that's bullying. And you've been a big advocate against bullying. But no matter what happens, when you're young and you're around young kids, we tend to be very mean, very hurtful, and we don't think twice about it. I was curious of how you handled that, and when you finally came to the ideas of, you know what, I'm here for a reason. I'm gonna take this hate you're giving me, and I'm gonna prove you wrong. You've been so vocal about being not arrogant, but confident. You know, but I just wanted to see like when did you finally have that confidence in yourself to be like, forget them. I am who I am. Like basically Triple H. I'm the game. I'm gonna play it my way. When did you have that transition, or did somebody help you with that? It's like how mom tells us like sticks and stones. Was there anybody that kind of catered that to you to like, hey, you know what, this is building my self confidence, or did you just kind of come up with it with yourself?
I've always had my own self confidence. As I stated before, I surrounded myself with people that always had my back, and they didn't like to see me being picked on or bullied when I was in middle school and three schools come together. It was shocking because there were some kids who had never seen someone in a wheelchair before and they thought I was the weakest person. Right away, I went to the principal's office and the principal had a zero tolerance policy for discrimination. Bullying goes beyond schools. It can happen out in public. It can happen anywhere if you think about it. That's why I wear my earpods everywhere I go. I turn on good tunes and just think to myself, what can I do better to help out my community in the long run?
Something you've also stated in your talks when you go speak at these schools and these other companies about inclusion and how to approach the disabled is treat everybody like somebody else. Don't be speaking slow. It's not so much they can't hear you, it's more so of the response time. Don't be mean, don't stare. There's so many factors, and something that threw me off is the first time I encountered that, I was at Rowan University. It just so happened that we were there for a job fair, and I met an individual who went to school right down the road from where I went to college. He went to Villanova, I went to Eastern. As I told you in our prior talks, I'm a pretty, I want to say ignorant to an extent, but I'm pretty boisterous. I'm in your face. So I walk up to him. I was like, "Oh, what's up, man? How you doing?" He's got the chart, and we're talking back and forth. You went to Villanova? That's some BS, man. I'm being my usual self. It was an eye-opening experience after the conversation. Everybody did their thing. Everybody's leaving. I say goodbye to him one more time. His helper takes me to the side and says, "Thank you so much. You don't understand what it meant for him to somebody to talk to him normal." And in my scheme, I was literally a couple of seconds away. "Hey, man, I'm so sorry. I was a little aggressive and abrasive." That really put things in perspective on how people really don't approach the disabled correctly. Yeah. And that kind of threw me off, like, well, I thought I was being extremely ignorant, like I usually am. So I was already apologizing. Who's somebody that when you met them for the first time, they did everything right? Who is somebody they could have talked to them prior to via email or whatever or something, etc., but it had a lasting impression of, this person has treated me just like somebody else, and I really appreciated that. I'm sure there's a few people, but maybe there was a first person that did that.
There's been a few people, but to be honest, I was raised right by my mom. She taught me to doing jokes. I just found my grounding and found a like people to be around in the beginning of K through 12. She was a big advocate for me in my school and studies. That all changed around when I was in high school.
So a lot of people don't know you did go to college. You went to Bellevue, and you have your associates in communication. They've been acclaimed for being very catering to the disabled community. But I was curious, what about communications made you go, I want to do this? Because when I was in college and I was looking at communications, they had media communications and then they had real communications. And I was like, wow, I am not a fan of real communications. So what about that study made you say, you know what, let's continue with that? Was it still the media aspect, or did you kind of enjoy the sociological aspect of communication?
When I started my public speaking, I was only 15. And when you're a teenager, sometimes that idea can last 2 years, 5 years, or the rest of your life. I saw this as an opportunity to get my degree in communications to push past my boundaries to educate people about people with disabilities. There's so much stigma still to this day about, oh, you can't do that, you can't do this. Well, before assuming, let me try. So I pushed on and I got my degree in communications in 2019. I started a program at Central Washington University in their Accessible Studies program to obtain my ADA credentials to help cities, buildings, companies be more accessible for people with disabilities. If you think about it, a push button could be here. Why isn't it here? If it's here, I can't push it because my wheelchair's a certain height.
Who would you consider a company that has basically done everything right as far as helping the disabled and catering to the community? The grocery store will have an aisle that's a little lower, or they'll have somebody that can come and help you the extra step, take that extra mile. Is there any companies off the top of your mind that you're like, you know what, they've been pretty good at handling the business correctly?
It's a non-profit and they're throughout the United States. The ARC, which is for developmental and physical disabilities, and they help people with autism.
We have to pull it back from school to when you did the challenge day. This is the kick and caboodle that, they gave you a voice, they gave you an opportunity, and this inspired you to create Beyond Disabilities. I wanted to see what it was like for you. Bring us back to that moment of that day where you were doing it and then you were inspired to speak. Were you already feeling like your gift was speaking? Were you feeling like, oh, I want to speak and do that? Or did it just come about from that day? Take us back exactly to those feelings when you first came in contact with Challenge Day.
I had the opportunity to do challenge day twice. I believe it was the second time that I realized I can do something bigger and better, not just for me, but for multiple people. I didn't know at first how big it was going to be in the beginning. I was reading my speech off of paper. I just kept on changing my PowerPoint because when you grow up more, you add more. So I told the beginnings, middles, accomplishments, struggles, and how I overcame it. Just be yourself to this day. I love what I do. I don't see it as a job, I just see it as a passion.
I would just want to say how incredibly lucky you are to do your passion and get paid. Because, man, I've been doing for a good decade at this point. I'm broke as hell. This ain't even my room. This ain't my stuff.
Think about that I've been a motivational speaker more than half my life is crazy to me.
And your company also going 12 years at this point, Beyond Disabilities, it informs individuals that if you're disabled, you're like everyone else, just going through life through a different way. And it's so powerful to be able to help a person. But when you go the extra mile, knowing that your work impacts somebody, I had a text message not too long ago. You get like, hey, good job, hey, love this, etc. But they really took the time to elaborate on the work I did, what it meant, and how they felt impacted the person I spoke to. And I was very touched by that. Before we walk into how you started the company, can you just reminisce about some individuals that have reached out to you and we're so grateful to the work that you do? You get like, hey, good job, hey, love this, etc. But they really took the time to elaborate on the work I did, what it meant, and how they felt it impacted the person I spoke to. And I was very touched by that. Before we walk into how you started the company, can you just reminisce about some individuals that have reached out to you and we're so grateful to the work that you do? And we're so inspired and we're so positively affected.
The people that have been supporting me the most is my mom and my family. I have an amazing mentor that is also a public speaker. He gave me the way to succeed. He told me that I have all the aspects of a public speaker. When he saw me speak, it came naturally to me. For a public speaker, sometimes those aspects of doing that is hard, but I just ran with it. My personality shines when I'm on the stage, especially when people are asking me questions.
It's your smile too, man. I'm telling you, people. There it is. Do it again. Don't stop now. There we go. I'm telling you, man. But how are some ways that you prep? Sometimes people ask for a little extra, hey, can you send us the interview questions prior to? Can you send us the bullet points? And for me, the research aspect of what I do is very messy. It's worked in the past. I'll sit down, I'll throw on a video, I'll read, and I will concise these questions randomly, terribly, and then like maybe 24 hours, 48 hours before the due date of the conversation, that's when I can sit down and pick it apart. And I literally just restart doing the questions all over again. And then I formulate this batch of questions and etc. And sometimes when somebody asks me, like, hey, can you send the questions early? Can you do this? Can you do that? It doesn't disrupt the flow in like getting it done, but it does make it a little bit, I feel, interesting. Like, okay, I have to adjust, this isn't my normal routine. So before you go on stage, before you go to an event, what are some of the either traditions or more so some of the things that you do to ensure, hey, this goes as smoothly as it can for me and the way I want to present it and the way I do it?
First off, it is all good. Usually when I do podcasts, I ask people for questions before to get my brain thinking of what I want to talk about how I want to answer it. For me, honestly, I just look over my presentation, make sure my videos are working, and I'm done. That's all the prepping I do, man.
But not all of us are that lucky, bro. Because I'll tell you, I did stand up one time. I was like, damn, I forgot what I was going to talk about. Sorry, people. Have a great night. All right, cool. Didn't go over too well. That joke was funny, but when I got off the stage, then they got pissed. So here's another thing. Starting a business can be a lot. So when you finally made the decision, like, I want to do Beyond Disabilities, I want to make this a legitimate business, what were some of the first steps into pushing it into making it like certified? So now you can put it on its tax report. Now there's an LLC. And who helped you?
The biggest thing was figuring out the name. My mom and I took 10 name suggestions. The one that stood out to me was seeing beyond disabilities. In my mindset as a business owner, I was like, that's too low in the alphabet to get recognized. So we took out the word seeing. My companies in the B's now instead of a S's, which is way better. Thinking what would stand out, what would be catchy. My company is a non-profit, so forming a non-profit is way different than a LLC. My non-profit takes donations, gives out donations. The first few years it was a struggle to get my name out there, but once I got it out there, people started emailing me, and I love it.
It's validating, isn't it, too, when you finally somebody
Yeah.
reaches out to you to do it. It's a different perspective than when you reach out. You're like, yeah, I better get a damn email back. But then when you finally, somebody that, or at least when you make a relationship and they offer, it's like, hey, could you do this for us? It feels so much better. What about staff? There is a gentleman, I don't know his name, but I do see him in your social media hanging out with you. A cool brother, too. He'd be like, go ahead, bro, do you. But I was curious on the staffing, because you are a nonprofit, how was that work? Is it mainly just you?
It's mainly just me. I have friends that come over time to time and they appear in my series called Ride with Steveferreira. He and I have the same mindset of working out video ideas and all that stuff, so he helped me formulate a few videos, but ever since that I ran with my own ideas. Time to time I bring in people that help me. The Ride with Steve Ferreira is real life scenarios, skits, or spreading awareness to help others understand about people with disabilities.
When speaking, or when doing what we do, man, we're presenters. We love entertaining. We love telling stories and giving our stories. There's always these moments where you have a conversation or you're speaking and you feel it. All the things aligned. It was just the perfect time. You've been on TED Talk. You've been on Asian Pacific Voices. You've had all these avenues. I was curious if there was a time where you did a speech, it was perfect, it was just the perfect day afterwards, or maybe it was a terrible day and that speech really rose you up and you needed that. But what was a performance? What was a time you went to work and it just all cylinders firing? It was perfect.
Probably when I did my TEDx talk. That trip was a crazy trip. It was a 20-hour business trip. Some people canceling left and right? Because it was back when the pandemic was going on. I went through slides more rigorously because I realized this is a TEDx talk. This only comes when people invite you. So I needed to read over my slides and all that stuff. Once I got up on the stage, it flowed correctly. I was amazed that out of the 20 speakers, I was the only one that got a standing ovation.
I would have held that over their head too, bro. I've been like, in your face. But I'm a jerk like that. You know, I like to have fun. It's so cool to see how social media has allowed people to have a voice. And a big thing that also happened, you said you did ride with Steve and you got your boy to come with you and etc. I was curious if you have had any other collaborations with any other creators yet, or anybody else that is an advocate for people with disabilities. There's a couple that follow you that I follow. I'm like, okay, I see Steve making moves. That's how I initially found you, was seeing your video, and they are like, oh, okay, homegirl follows him, homeboy follows him. Like, let me check homie out. So I was curious, did you have that in the works? Is there anybody you would like to work with in the future, or any companies, etc.?
Not yet, but to me, in July when I posted one of my videos about being a strong advocate, that took my Instagram from 1,500 followers to 40,000 followers in 30 days. People are so ignorant to say, okay, why don't you stand up for yourself? And they would call me racial slurs doing stupid memes. At the end of the day, they're just helping my algorithm. It also hurts because I'm a human being. No one deserves to be bullied on social media. I think with all the different types of bullying, cyberbullying is the most prevalent. People can get away with anything, do anything, and sign off and be, oh, I did my day of work. I'm like, why are you doing this? If you have a choice of do you want to do this or do you want to do this? Or are you hanging out with the wrong group of friends? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
I try to build up my community as strong as I can. I'm sorry I don't respond to comments when I post. I'm on to the next video. That's how I do my work, man.
That's a lot better than me, bro. Because when I post, I gotta check for the mistakes. You know, because I sent you the questions. I was like, ooh, you know, thank you. If y'all don't know, I sent Steve the questions prior to, and man, I might need to hire him for help because I was all effed up. I was like, I can't spell. Everything's on it. He cleaned it up so perfectly, and even gave me bullet points like change this, change that, change this, or you could do this even better. I was like, Steve, you my man's, bro. You saved my day. So since you were young, you know, you did express that weight training helped you with therapy, and you grew up playing all sports. You played baseball. People don't even know there's rugby. There's wheelchair rugby. I'd love that. I would just punch somebody for fun. But you did all these sports growing up, and you've competed. You've done discus. You've done shot put. We'll get to that in just a second. But we never really hear about your other hobbies. Are you a video game guy? Do you like anime? What is your favorite sports team? I was curious on what some of those extras were and are, other than just being jacked all the time and working out at the gym.
I listen to music. I watch football, basketball, and sometimes baseball. I'm actually going to a concert the end of this month. I'm excited.
Well, hold on. You gotta tell me who you gonna see, cause you know I got my concert resume, man. You know I've seen like a lot of shows. You gotta tell me now.
This lineup is that. So it's called Together as One in Tacoma. It's a EDM festival.
EDM guy. You, my boy D was telling me about that. I don't know, man. I went to a silent rave one time at Firefly. I couldn't do it. I need to go to an actual EDM show, but that was like,
Yeah.
I don't know. You did all these sports, man. Which one is your favorite still? You literally got gold representing the United States and Czech Republic. And something like that, I express, anytime you compete, it's for you. But when you compete for your country, your state, your city, it adds a little bit more chip on your shoulder. So what is your favorite sport? And then we'll hop into competing in the Paralympic sports for that.
My favorite sport was track and field. I did track and field after basketball. The coach at that time saw me throw and they said, "Oh, we might have found a secret weapon." The first year in 2007, I broke 3 national records and 3 American records.
Tell me about your trip to New Jersey, man, because I'm a Jersey kid. I'm here right now. That's where you won bronze. But I want your experience of what was it like being out here for you. Was it like a quick in and out? You just went to the tournament and then came back. What was that day like when you won the bronze in Jersey?
I have family in New York, Massachusetts, and New Jersey. I competed at Rutgers when I was competing. They had to rush me out of my throwing chair because it was thundering and lightning. My throwing chair is all metal. They forgot I was tied down, so they were struggling. Finally got me on my chair. I ended up taking a bronze home.
Oh, you didn't tell me your Jersey family, man. You need to come visit. Or I'll come visit you. Let's go visit you. That's probably better. So, for the Paralympic sports, how does the qualification work? And then tell me about that day when you went to the Czech Republic and actually won gold for the States and repped us good.
You have to meet certain standards. There's a A standard or B standard. Of course, you want the A standard more because it gives you a higher chance of being on a team. When I competed in the Czech Republic in 2010, the team and I, the first week, did a week of sightseeing. We traveled over to the venue. They had a bad flood with tons of mosquitoes. I got bit to death. So when I was competing, the doctor said, "Oh, he has a cold. He should be fine." When I came back to New York to visit my family, went to the emergency room. Turns out I had pneumonia and it lasted for 30 days. But I still won the gold medal.
I bet that goal was making you feel better too. It's just like, it's I'm gonna feel like.
Right.
That's one of the fun, enduring stories that you have. That's just one of them. And there's so many more in the other talks that you've had. When I look and I think we're doing so much better, but there's still a lot more work to be done as far as acceptance and helping people with disabilities. What is the biggest thing you would like or have encountered in your own struggle as far as having a which you would consider a day-to-day that caters to your disability, what would be that one thing you would want the United States to tackle first? Is it still, hey, you know what? We have to have this idea of inclusion. Everybody's the same. Be nice to each other. Help each other. Or is it, let's start with actually coming up with the amenities, helping people by making everything accessible? What do you think is the biggest thing the states should tackle first?
I think the state should tackle equal benefits and equal pay for people with disabilities. Some people are having SSI or SSDI. There's a certain cap, and it's like, how is that efficient when other people are making so much money? Do they think I just sit on my butt every day and don't appreciate anything I do? Also, I believe that the health care needs to be better trained on how to treat people with disabilities. Can I tell a story?
Yeah, of course, man.
So one time I was going to urgent care because sometimes making a appointment with a regular doctor is a pain. Urgent care I can do an appointment faster. I go in there, check in, they take my heart rate. I ask them to do my heart rate manually. With my disability, sometimes I shake. The nurse practitioner thought I was drunk due to the way I spoke and the way I was shaking. The doctor came in, thought I was drunk as well. The nurse practitioner helped me get stuff out of my ear. I had swimmer's ear. She made my ear bleed. She did not take the blame. I sent a complaint to the higher end, and they emailed me back and said your complaint isn't valid enough. I'm like, what the hell are we doing for people with disabilities if they can't get the right care they need when they have an emergency and don't want to see the actual doctor and wait for the day?
And I'm sorry you went through that, family. What would you consider your greatest accomplishment?
My, oh, sorry, man.
He knew it too. He was on it. He was like, I got you right there. Say less. You ain't even gotta try and specify. But go ahead, family.
No, man. 5 months after I founded my company, I got this opportunity to go back to Taiwan and give 5 different speeches all over Taiwan, including a charity dinner.
Steve, I always end these with the most important question. What is the best piece of advice somebody's giving you? Sometimes it's funny. Like they're just saying stuff and you're BSing and it's like, oh, that's actually pretty good. And then sometimes somebody takes you down. They sit you, hey man, just live. They sit you aside, they take you and they go, is what you're doing worth what you're trying, or etc. So what is some advice that somebody's giving you that for some reason or another, it always hits you, it always comes back to you when you need it, or it randomly pops up and you're like, you know what, okay, let me do this. It's a guiding mantra for your life.
My mentor told me you will always be climbing a mountain to reach the top to achieve the highest point of success, but don't expect it to be easy. You will have some obstacles, but they will challenge you to be better in the long run.
And are you at liberty to mention your mentor? Because you've been giving him a lot of love. Or her. I don't even know. But can you mention them? Is that okay or no?
My mentor is Eric Davis. He's a professor at Bellevue College. Took me under his wing and helped guide me through my motivational speaking career.
A copy, family. Ladies and gentlemen, that is Steve Ferreira. He is the CEO, he is the owner, and he is the man about town when it comes to Beyond Disabilities. Go check them out. You can find Beyond Disabilities at www.beyond-disabilities. Don't forget that dash. It's going to mess you up. It messed me up. Make sure it's beyond-disabilities.org. You can check out his IG, No Excuses Steve. You can watch him flip tires. You can see him working out. And you can see him speaking real truths about helping people with disabilities. And you can also catch him on Threads and email him. Ladies and gentlemen, I got to say, I always enjoy talking to Steve, and he's always great. Good sir, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, and I hope this helps people understand more about people with disabilities.
Indeed, it will. Everybody else, you know where I'm going to stay. Be smart, be mindful, check out Steve, and try and help some others. And as always, Ninja out.
Woo, baby, you listen to John the Ninja. Oh, your ears are about to go on a vacation. John the Ninja's got what you need.